W5FC. very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Good evening. The time is 9 p.m. Good evening, everyone. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? Alrighty, nothing heard. Well, this is Virginia in the 5F, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. I want to apologize ahead of time. I'm not able to connect to Echolink for some reason, so I'm not going to be able to see who is in the Echolink room, but I should be able to hear the Echolink check-ins when they come in. I'm just not going to be able to see you guys in there. I will work on that during parts of the net when I'm not speaking. So this is Skynet. It's a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the post sign break break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without the direction of the net control, and that would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmission. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5SD-R station ID or the Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio and video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell all of the other amateurs you know about this popular net. You can now check into the net electronically by going to the club website, w5fc.org. Look for tonight's announcement and click on the hot link to check in. We will acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry, if you want to check in via voice, we will continue to do that too, over the air or on Echolink. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts, including general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events, recent astronomical discoveries, discussion topic of the evening, what's up, space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, visible satellite passages over the next couple days, astronomical Q&A if there's time permitting, and also, if time permits, a 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. We currently have the following people checked in electronically, and that would be K5ICX, Tom, K5NCD, Cody in Dallas, and Tom is in Corpus Christi, W5BLT, Bill in Garland, WB5OZL, Brenda in Dallas, NB5F, that's me, Virginia in Fort Worth, KF5JHA, Chaz and Bob the Cat, Milky Way, Solar System, Planet Earth, AG5PM, Rich in Rockwall, KE5JIT, Randy in Corpus Christi, WD9GET, Keith in Alvin, and NT5TM, Tony in Bird City. All right, so now it's time for short time check-ins over the air. If you are a short time check-in, please come now with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from this evening.
November 2, Victor India Papa, Ken, I'm in Las Colinas. Alpha India 5, Quebec Echo, Bob in Uptown.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Palmer French.
Okay, so for short time we have N2 VIP Ken in Las Colinas, AI5QE Bob in Uptown, and KF5ZBL Bill in Farmers Branch. Thank you so much for your check-ins. Next we will go with general check-ins. Anyone just wanting to check in, regular check-ins, please come now.
This is Whiskey Bravo 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas, low power.
Okay, we have 4 MFI Ted in Dallas, low power. Any more check-ins before we continue?
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton.
Okay, we got K5WBL, James and Carrollton, and do we have any Echo Link check-ins this evening?
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, KG5 UFR, Jacob on Echo Link, Silver Lake State Park.
Okay, we have KG5 UFR Jason from State Park, I guess, doing parks on the air, so that's cool. Thanks for joining us this evening. Let's see. All check-ins, anyone, anywhere, one more time before we begin the rest of the net.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra Gus, far northeast Dallas.
All right, and then we've added Gus, W5GUS in northeast Dallas. Thanks for checking in. All righty, let's get started. General announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please come now if you've got an announcement.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Okay, it would be announcements without Tony, so NT5TM, go ahead with your announcement.
Virginia, I try when I can. I can't always, but I try to be here when I can. I hope you'll join us here tonight for our next Afterglow movie, Limitless from 2011. Now, this is not the documentary from 2017. This is the very dark science fiction movie from 2011. We'll be talking about it tonight on this net at 10:30, 10:35, kind of plus or minus 5 minutes. We don't watch the movie on the air, but we sure do talk about it. The Dallas Amateur Radio Club Lecture and Lab is back for 2025. Please have a look at the W5SC.org website. Our lecture and lab kit is a build-it-yourself clock. It's only $10. We'll be building it on Saturday, February 22nd at 10 a.m. at our usual club meeting spot, the northeast corner of Webb Chapel and LBJ. Yeah, that's the Dallas Medical Center. We meet in the third floor community room. We don't really need you to bring anything besides general soldering tools and $10. We do have 20 kits on hand, but if you don't have anything besides your enthusiasm, or if you don't have many tools, that's okay. Most of us bring extras, and all of us are willing to share. There are no difficult surface mounted. I'm sorry, I'm too sleepy. There are no difficult surface mounted kits to solder. Okay, well, after I thoroughly butchered that one, hopefully I can get this one right. I've been asked this question by new hams lately. If you would like to chat with DARC members between nets, please check out the DARC Discord server, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Discord server. Go to W5SC.org and scroll down and look at the right side navigation. There's a link to an invite to join our server. And finally, if you're getting ready for the cold and rain, yeah, you were lured into a false sense of security today, but the cold and rain are coming, and you're getting prepared. Please join our MCOM 101 net this Monday at 7 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88 megahertz. Thank you. NT5TM, back to net.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Appreciate the announcements. Looking forward to possibly lecture and lab coming up, and the Discord server is a lot of fun. So, and yes, join us for the IMCOMnet. It's always pretty cool, too. All right, the AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 3 nets available to Dallas residents. One is on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time, and you can check into the National AMSAT Net. Learn all about amateur satellites and how you can use them in amateur radio. The National AMSAT Net will bring the most up-to-date information on amateur satellites currently in use or new ones coming online. You will need Echolink installed and get registered. You can find the net under groups. AMSAT, also a live audio link is available on their website, www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. There's also 2 local AMSAT nets that are available in Dallas. Both of these nets encourage active check-ins. You can ask questions of the net control as well as others checked in. AMSAT Net East, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88, PL tone 110.9. Tom, N5HYP, is the net control. All are welcome to check in. The first Tuesday of the month is DARC Club Night, so there will be no AMSAT Net East on the first Tuesday night. The Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington Club repeater, 147.14 megahertz, PL tone 110.9. Positive offset. Same deal there, except on Wednesday nights at 9. The DARC also hosts a number of nets. Every Monday at 7 p.m. there's some kind of a net. Check the w5fc.org website. This coming Monday will be, I'm not sure what it is, and I don't think it says here what it's going to be. Let's see, our next, IMCOM 101. Tony just talked about it. Sorry, Tony. Learn about emergency communications here in Dallas from served agencies, IMCOM net controls, and basic emergency preparedness. If you have an interest in emergency communications and ham-assisted activities, join us at 7 p.m. on Monday night. Everyone can check into this 1-hour net. The scheduled net control is Kevin in 5KRG. Saturdays, of course, is the night of nets, where we are now, where we keep the airwaves buzzing until midnight. And that's always TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m., Skynet, which you're listening to now, from 9 to 10:30, and then the Afterglow Movie Net from 10:30 to midnight. So it'd be a hit or a dreaded miss, thumbs up or thumbs down. You make the call, and more on this in a minute. First and third Sundays, Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, and that's where you tell us what's going on in your ham world, club news and information about lecture and lab, and then every day we have ARRLnet National Traffic System Training Net every night at 6:30 p.m. Learn how message traffic is handled on this formal training net. Newbies are welcome to check in, as this is a training net. They also have another net on Irving WA5 CKF repeater 146.72 megahertz at 9:30 p.m. every night, and all are welcome to check in to any and all of these nets. And now for tonight's Afterglow info. Let's see if we can get the king of Afterglow himself, Tom, KE5ICX. Would you like to describe tonight's Afterglow movie for us in B5F?
Well, thank you, Virginia, and thanks for doing the net this evening. Yes, here's my highly accurate description of tonight's movie, which Tony has mentioned. Edward Morra was a struggling writer, but one who also needed to get back to work. Vernon, his ex-brother-in-law, wouldn't leave. He was a social butterfly with nowhere to go, and since Edward always had snacks on hand, Vernon just hung around for hours. But this time was different. Vernon had a new drug he offered up to Edward, one that wouldn't make Edward crash his car, or make him sick, or make him feel 3 feet thick. But one thing it would do is make him super smart. Smart enough to pull the Huey Lewis record off his stereo, trash it, and throw Vernon out onto the street. Join us for the next Afterglow movie tonight. It's called Limitless from 2017. And would you believe they made a TV series out of this thing? Yeah, it was a police procedural. What else are you going to do with a one-hit story? At any rate, come and talk about it. It's a pretty good movie. That's tonight at 10:30 p.m. Back to you, Virginia, KE5 ICX.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I'm trying to imagine that show based on this movie. It was probably something kind of like the show Numbers, or there was also one in the 80s. I can't remember the name of it, but it was about this super smart guy named Austin, or something Austin. It had about 7 episodes. I loved it. Okay, you can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. And let's see, we currently have the following people checked in. I'm going to check the website check-in thing and see if we've added anybody. We have added AG9SG Antonio in Dallas on our online check-in. So Antonio, thank you for checking in that way. Let's see. And I will now take additional check-ins over the air from anywhere, Echolink or regular on the air. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and where you are.
Hello, 5 Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson. Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell. Kilo Delta 5, Romeo Kilo Papa, Jerry in Louisville.
All right, so we had 3 there. We had the first one. I had a double. I had Robert and Richardson, and I did not get your call sign. So Robert, would you please come with your call sign again?
That's Alpha 5 Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
I apologize, Robert. I got 5 Alpha Hotel. For some reason, I'm not hearing your suffix right. Maybe back away from the microphone a little bit. And one more try. I'm sorry, please.
Sometimes I say it too fast. All right. Alpha 5 Alpha Hotel.
All right, I got you. Alpha 5 Alpha Hotel. Thank you for your patience. And then I got K5JDW John in Coppell, and I got Kilo Delta 5 RKP Jerry in Louisville. Any more check-ins before we continue? Alrighty. So, now it's time for Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. And this is going to be brought to you by Chaz, our resident Texas Astronomical Society. Take it away, Chaz.
So much. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA,
On February the 28th, 2025, that's the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is going to be David Hetzenauer. His topic is going to be recoding the Mount Wilson telescope mirror. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights, so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. On the second Saturday of the month, the stargazing is held at Frisco. Now, do we have a ham radio operator at the stargazing that would like to make a report? Come now with your call sign, if there is. I was just earlier doing some imaging with my C-Star, so I know it's clear. The moon's out there, Venus, had Saturn earlier, Mars, Jupiter, all sorts of things to see in the sky, not to mention the Orion Nebula, and the list goes on and on and on. Anyway, so they're probably doing some observing, and it's a long string to get to Frisco to the repeater. So, check the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing stations. This is KF5JJ. Back to our net control.
Okay, thank you, Jazz. Appreciate that. The announcement. Next, we have National Space Society announcements with Bill in 5BB. What have you got for us, Bill? Bill in 5BB, are you there? If not, I will read your stuff. Well, I take this for Bill. This is National Space Society Events and Activities. NSS North Texas Vice President and Membership Director in 5BB, Bill, usually does all these. He's our National Space Society liaison and authority. The National Space Society is a non-profit group based in the U.S. which is interested in the exploration and development of space and creation of a spacefaring civilization. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. And the next meeting will be held, I believe that it would be tomorrow afternoon, and I believe they get started at 3:30 p.m. On the last Friday evening of each month at 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society of North Texas Chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is Cheddar's Restaurant, 700 West 635, Irving, Texas 75063. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. The next Space Rendezvous will be held, that would be the last Friday evening of this month, which I believe is the 28th. Our local NSS chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box to request access. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill in 5BB at his QRZ listed email address or at space@byrom, BYROM.net. And this is Virginia, your net control for Skynet. My call sign is NV5F, and now we have recent astronomical discoveries with Brenda, WB5OZL.
This is WB5OZL transmitting on my cell phone. Everything is just breaking in rotation, so who knows what is going to happen tonight. We'll just carry on. This article is entitled Meteorite Discovery Challenges Long-Held Theories on Earth's Missing Elements. Understanding where Earth and don't know what happened. Phone just failed temporarily. Anyway, a new story reveals a surprising twist in the story of our planet's formation. A new study led by Arizona State University. Dan and Veer grew off from the School of Molecular Scientists and the School of Earth and Space Exploration in collaboration with researchers from Caltech, Rice, and MIT, challenges traditional theories about why Earth and Mars are depleted in moderately volatile elements, MVEs. MVEs, like copper and zinc, play a crucial role in planetary chemistry, often accompanying life essential elements such as water, carbon, and nitrogen. Understanding their origin provides vital clues about why Earth became a habitable world. Earth and Mars contain significantly fewer MVEs than primitive meteorites, chondrites, raising fundamental questions about planetary formation. Published in Science Advances, the study takes a fresh approach by analyzing iron meteorites, remnants of the metallic cores of the earliest planetary building blocks we found conclusive evidence that a first generation planet Eskimos in the interstellar system were unexpectedly rich in these elements, said Grewal. This discovery reshapes our understanding of how planets acquired their ingredients. Until now, scientists believe that NVEs were lost either because they never fully condensed in the early solar system or escaped during planetesimal differentiation. However, the study reveals a different story. Many of the first planetesimals held onto their NVEs, suggesting that the building blocks of Earth and Mars lost theirs later during a period of violent cosmic collisions that shaped their formation. Surprisingly, the team found that many inner solar system planetesimals retained chondrite-like NVE abundances, showing that they accreted and preserved NVEs despite undergoing differentiation. This suggests that the progenitors of Earth and Mars did not start out depleted in these elements, but instead their loss occurred over a prolonged history of collisional growth rather than incomplete condensation in the solar nebula or planetesimal differentiation. Our work redefines how we understand the chemical evolution of planets, Grewal said. It shows that the building blocks of Earth and Mars were originally rich in these life-essential elements, but intense collisions during planetary growth caused their depletion. And that's the end of the article. Back to you, Ned. This is WB5OZL.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Appreciate that. And next is me with the discussion topic of the evening, I've also got a nice, hopefully interesting article. This weekend we celebrate the anniversary of a different kind of moonshot. The world may never know what brand of golf ball astronaut Alan Shepard hit on the moon. February 6, 2025. This is a story that came out a couple days ago. Carlos Villagomez owns a golf ball that he believes was flown to the moon. If indeed it was, he may also hold the answer to a more than 50-year-old bit of trivia that otherwise may be forever lost to time. Villagomez was gifted the ball by Alan Shepard, the first American astronaut to fly into space, the fifth human to walk on the moon, and the world's first, and to date only, lunar golfer. Wrapping up his second of two moonwalks on NASA's 1971 Apollo 14 mission, Shepard took a swing at a couple of golf balls. I have a little white pellet that's familiar to millions of Americans. I'll drop it down. Unfortunately, the suit is so stiff, I can't do this with two hands, but I'm going to try a little sand trap shot here, said Shepard 54 years ago today on February 6th. I know it's February 8th, but this came out on February 6th. Shepard had NASA's permission to carry out the moonshot so long as it met the agency's criteria, including that it be a non-commercial activity. To avoid any company from trying to profit from his 1/6 gravity drives, Shepard kept one key detail secret, the brand of the golf ball. I've never told anybody. I'll never tell my wife, Shepard once said, as quoted by Sports Illustrated. Maybe it was Max Fly.
Node 48902.
What Shepard did, assigned golf ball just after exiting quarantine following his return to Earth. He shook my hand and I felt something there and he gave me a ball, Villagomez said, in The Barber and the Astronaut and the Golf Ball by filmmaker Jonathan Richards, based on the book of the same title by authors Barbara Rednowski and Ed Supkis. I wasn't going to say, was this on the moon's surface? I didn't want to put him on the spot like that. I figured I would ask him later, but I never asked him, said Villagomez. Whether or not Shepard took a third ball to the moon and then gifted it to his barber without any provenance is the focus of the book and the film. But if he did, and assuming all three balls were of the same make, then Shepard flew Max Fly balls, a brand established in 1910 by the sports division of the Dunlop Tire and Rubber Corporation, currently owned by Dick's Sporting Goods. Why Max Fly? Well, perhaps it was due to Shepard's sense of humor, suggests Radnowski. Max Fly might have appealed to him given his hope that the golf balls would go for miles and miles and miles, as he proclaimed on the moon. In reality, his maximum flight was only about 40 yards, as later measured using photos of the balls on the lunar surface. But again, Villagomez's gift is not the only claim on a brand of ball. Jack Harden, a Houston local golf pro, helped Shepard create the makeshift club that was used on the moon by sawing off the head of a Wilson Staff Dynapower 6 iron and modifying it so that it could attach to the handle of a lunar sample collection device that was already on board the Apollo 13 lunar module. Shepard donated the flown club to the United States Golf Association in 1974, and today it is on display in the USGA Golf Museum in Liberty Corner, New Jersey. Harden also reportedly gave Shepard a couple of two-piece Spalding brand range balls that were customized with Harden's name, property of Jack Harden, which then became the balls the astronauts flew to and hit off the moon, at least according to Harden's son in an interview published in Sports Illustrated after Hardin Sr. died. The article, Shooting for the Moon by Jamie Diaz, was timed to Shepard's death in 1998. Whether Spalding knew of Hardin's gift or was taking advantage of the moment, the company offered a free commemorative moon ball to customers who bought a dozen of its dot balls, and an ad said that the promo was to celebrate Spalding's space flight as first golf ball on the moon, and the moon ball was an exclusive edition of the two-piece Spalding golf ball that landed on the moon. Each of the so-called moon balls were adorned with an illustration of an astronaut, presumably Shepard, playing golf on the moon, as well as described first golf ball on the moon, February 6, 1971. Shepard was not amused. We cut them off quickly, he said in a NASA interview soon before his death. Give me, and then the next section, one more possible issue with Hardin's story impacts another separate claim, too.
Node 4, 8, 9.
In 2015, the Rogers Daisy Airgun Museum debuted an exhibit devoted to Shepard and his moonshot. Central to the display is a matted photo of Apollo 14 crew that has been inscribed with art. Our sincere thanks for the Daisy golf balls by Victor. They are out of this world. Although the Daisy Company is best known for its BB guns, hence the Airgun Museum, it did sell Daisy-branded golf balls when it was owned by the Victor Comptometer Corporation. The museum says it was Daisy balls that flew to the moon based on the inscribed mast and ship that was shared. The senior public relations and NASA director of public in Houston at the time. The latter is said to have sourced the golf balls for Shepard to fly. Both men have also since died, leaving only anecdotes, and then there is what Shepard himself said about the balls. There were 2 golf balls for which I paid. There was no expense to the taxpayer. If Shepard bought the balls himself, that would seem to rule out their being gifted or acquired by others for his moonshot. Whether the balls were Maxfly, Spalding, Daisy, or some other companies may only ever be answered if we can get eyes on the golf balls on the moon. While the U.S., China, and other countries have plans to return astronauts to the lunar surface, targeting the Apollo 14 landing site, the Palmyra Highlands, or areas nearby. Most of the renewed focus is on the lunar South Pole, where water ice in permanently shadowed craters could become a resource for sustaining a base and producing rocket fuel. Further, there are growing efforts to protect the human heritage sites on the moon from being disturbed. In 2021, the U.S. passed a law requiring domestic companies looking to send new missions to the moon to avoid the hardware and equipment left there by the Apollo missions. Likewise, NASA's Artemis Accord calls for its more than 50 and still growing party nations to protect historic human and robotic landing sites as one of its 10 principles. Most recently, the moon was added to the World Monuments Watch, a list of locations spanning 5 continents and now the lunar surface that should be preserved for the history they represent. Even if you could find a safe, non-intrusive way to get close enough to read the brand marks on Shepard's golf balls on the moon, there may be nothing to see. The 2 little white pellets were dropped into an environment that swings from 250 degrees Fahrenheit in the daylight and minus 208 degrees Fahrenheit in the dark. And that is to say nothing about the exposure to radiation from the sun and cosmic rays. In time, the cover of the ball would turn brown, and with the cold of the lunar night, probably crack and fall off, said the manufacturer after testing golf balls at lunar conditions, according to Sports Illustrated. The ball's cores would get hard and brittle, and then they'd probably sit there forever in the vacuum. Shepard acknowledged that the balls had probably exploded by now, but despite that, desired a happier outcome. Perhaps the youngsters of today will go up and play golf with them, he said. And for some further related history to this topic, you can check out the site from which this article came. It's called www.collectspace.com, and if you go to the news section for February 6th, and on this page there's a fun video featuring an interview with Carlos, what's that guy's name? The barber guy. There's an interview with him, the NASA barber who got the golf ball from Alan Shepard. Also, you can check out the Tom Hanks series From the Earth to the Moon, and there is an episode entitled Miles and Miles. It's the story of Al Shepard's comeback from being grounded due to Meniere's disease. Al, the first American in space, braved a lot to finally get to show up John Glenn by making it all the way to the moon. And that's it for my discussion topic of the evening. Does anyone have any questions or comments for tonight's presentation? Please come now with your call sign. All right. Well, next we have What's Up with Chaz, KF5JHA, telling us what we can look for in the sky now and in the coming days. Take it away, Chaz.
Thanks, Virginia. Okay, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically, or what has happened over the last couple of weeks, and what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks and beyond. That was slide number 1. No, that was slide number 2, excuse me. Slide number 3, please. Slide master, that would be Tom. We have talked about the predicted nova of the star T Corona Borealis, which may erupt at any time. It is currently at a brightness of around 10th magnitude, which is much too faint to see with just your 2 eyes. But when it goes nova, T Corona Borealis could be as bright as the North Star. Now, I can see the North Star with just my 2 eyes from my very light-polluted location in Mesquite. Okay, slide master, slide number 4. Now, this image was taken on Thursday, February the 5th, from spaceweather.com. The large sunspot complexes on the sun are so large that you can use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. I tried to do that today, but they weren't quite large enough to see today with solar eclipse glasses. Now, the sun is near its 11-year solar maximum. I'm not quite sure when that's going to happen. We won't know until it is passed because we just don't know the exact time. Now, I talked about the solar eclipse cycle about 2 months ago on Skynet. Hopefully you were here for that segment. Slide master, slide number 5, please. Okay, the first quarter moon was on February the 5th, just a few days ago. So the current phase of the moon is a waxing gibbous. Full moon is on February the 12th. On February the 17th, the moon will be at apogee, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 404,882 kilometers. Third quarter moon is on February the 20th. New moon is on February the 27th. On March the 1st, the moon is at perigee, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 361,964 kilometers. And the first quarter moon is on March the 6th. Slide master, slide number 6, please. On February the 9th, oh, that's tomorrow, is the conjunction of the moon and the planet Mars and the bright star Pollux. You can do that, well, you can watch it in the morning sky, you can see it in the evening sky. It's easy to see right overhead. Slide master, slide number 7. The next night, on February the 10th, is when the moon is in conjunction with M44. That's also known as the Beehive Star Cluster. That would be in the eastern evening sky. Slide master, slide number 8. February the 12th, the moon and the bright star Regulus are in conjunction in the eastern evening sky. Slide master, slide number 9. On February the 17th, you could observe the conjunction of the moon and the bright star Spica in the early morning sky. Slide master, slide number 10. On February the 21st, there's a conjunction of the moon and the bright star Antares in the morning sky. And slide master, slide number 11. On February the 24th, in the evening twilight, you could observe the conjunction of Saturn and Mercury low in the western evening sky. You probably need a pair of binoculars to see that, to pull it out of the twilight sky. This is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 12. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill.
Kilo India 5 Romeo Tango Mike.
Romeo Tango Mike, go ahead.
I don't actually have a question. I've been following along with the discussion that's been happening and looking up the websites as you all have been presenting, like the Texas Astronomical Society and the other one, the NSS. So I just have enjoyed the program tonight. I just missed the last check-in time, and so I thought I'd call in, but I don't actually have a question tonight. Back to the net.
Don't leave now. We'll let you officially check in just a few moments. Okay. Slide master, slide number 13. So as the moon waned about 2 weeks ago, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. Until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in just a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5GHA, turning it back over to our net control, Virginia. Why don't you go ahead and check that next, well, that person in.
Okay, thank you, Chaz. And yes, I have the call sign Kilo India 5 Romeo Tango Mike. Come back with your name and where you're located.
Thank you. This is Kilo India 5 Romeo Tango Mike. My name is John, and I live in Grapevine, Texas.
Okay, thank you. I got John in Grapevine. And while we're at it, is there anyone else who would like to check into Skynet? Okay, well, if not, now we have space exploration and space history brought to you this week by Brenda, WB5OZL.
Keep losing my transmission. This is WB5OZL. First article is NASA CubeSat finds a new radiation belt after May 2024 solar storm. The May 2024 solar storm created two new temporary belts of high-energy particles surrounding Earth. Such belts may have been seen before, but the new ones are particularly long-lasting, especially the new proton belt. The findings are particularly important for spacecraft launching into geostationary orbits, which can be damaged as they traverse the dangerous belts. The largest solar storm in 2 decades hit Earth on May 2024. For several days, wave after wave of high-energy charged particles from the sun rocked the planet. Brilliant auroras engulfed the skies, and some GPS communications were temporarily disrupted. With the help of a serendipitously resurrected small NASA satellite scientists have discovered two new temporary belts of energetic particles encircling Earth. The findings are important to understanding how future solar storms could impact our technology. The new belts form between two others that permanently surround the Earth called the Van Allen belts. Shaped like concentric rings high above Earth's equator, these permanent belts are composed of a mix of high-energy electrons and protons that are trapped in place by Earth's magnetic field. The energetic particles in these belts can damage spacecraft and imperial astronauts who pass through them, so understanding their dynamics is key to safe space flight. Next article, more than 400 lives were saved with NASA's search and rescue tech in 2024. Did you know that the same search and rescue technologies developed by NASA for astronaut missions to space help locate and rescue people across the United States and around the world? NASA's collaboration with the International Satellite-Aided Search and Rescue effort, known as COPAS-SARSAT, has enabled the development of multiple emergency location beacons for explorers on land, sea, and air. Of the 407 lives saved in 2024 through search and rescue efforts in the United States, NOAA reports that 52 rescues were the result of activated personnel locator beacons, 314 from emergency position indicating radio beacons, and 41 from emergency located transmitters. Since 1982, more than 50,000 lives have been saved across the world. Using GPS satellites, these beacons transmit their location to the COPAS-SARSAT network once activated. The beacons then provide the activation coordinates onto the network, allowing first responders to rescue lost or distressed explorers. The Search and Rescue Office, part of NASA's SCAN, that's Space Communications and Navigation program, has assisted in search and rescue services since its formation in 1979. Now the office is building on their long legacy of Earth-based beacon development to support crewed missions to space. The beacons are also used for emergency location if needed as part of NASA's crew launches to and from the ISS and will support NASA's Artemis campaign crew recovery preparations during future missions returning from deep space. Systems being tested like the Angel beacon are benefiting life on Earth and missions to the Moon and Mars. Most recently, NASA partnered with the Development of Defense to practice Artemis 2 recovery procedures, including Angel beacon activation during URT-11. Underway Recovery Test 11. Birthdays. February 3rd, 1958, Joe F. Edwards, Jr. He flew on STS-89. Mary Cleve, February 5th, 1947, STS-61B and STS-30. Andrew Morgan, February 5th, 1976. Expedition 61, 61, and 62. Johnny Kim, February 5th, 1984. No missions yet. He's on the short list for Artemis. Alfred Worden, February 7th, 1932. Apollo 15.
No.
Heidi Marie
8, 9,
Definition Piper. February 1953. Flew on STS-115 and 126. This week in space history, February 4th was the 58th anniversary of the launch of Lunar Orbiter 3. The Lunar Orbiter program was a series of 5 uncrewed missions launched from 1966 to 67. Intended to help select Apollo landing sites by mapping the moon's surface, they provided the first photographs from lunar orbit and photographed both the moon and Earth. All 5 missions were successful, and 99% of the lunar surface was mapped from photographs taken with a resolution of 60 meters or better. The first 3 missions were dedicated 20 potential lunar landing sites selected based on Earth-based observations. These were flown to broader scientific objectives and were flown in high-altitude polar orbits. Lunar Orbiter 4 photographed the entire near side and 9% side, and Lunar Orbiter 5 completed the far side coverage and acquired medium 20 meters and high 2-meter resolution images of 36 pre-selected areas. The Lunar Orbiter program was managed by NASA Langley Research Center. 1906, Clyde Tombaugh was born. Dissatisfied with store-bought telescopes, Tombaugh used spare machinery parts to build his own equipment. His observation-based sketches of Mars and Jupiter impressed the staff at Lowell Observatory so much that they offered him a job where he would make the discovery of a lifetime. On February 18, 1930, after the thousands of hours examining photographic plates of the night sky, the 24-year-old Tombaugh located the elusive planet X, now known as the dwarf planet Pluto. Although he is best remembered for finding Pluto, he also cataloged thousands of asteroids, variable stars, and galaxies. He died January 17, 1997. Some of Tombaugh's ashes are aboard the New Horizons spacecraft, which flew by Pluto on July 14, 2015. Next, 1971, February 5th, the Apollo 14 lunar module Antares touched down on the moon. The crew, led by the first American in space, Alan Shepard, included Ed Mitchell as lunar module planet and Stuart Russo as command module planet pilot. They were tasked with exploring the Fall-Morrow region, the mission originally assigned to Apollo 13. Over the course of 2 moonwalks, lasting approximately 4 hours each, Shepard and Mitchell collected 94 pounds of rocks and soil to return to Earth. It was also on this mission at the end of the second moonwalk that Alan Shepard would enter into space legend as the first person to hit a golf ball in space. After attaching a 6-iron head to the handle of a lunar sample collection device, Shepard fired off several shots before returning to the Antares. February 6, 1995, the shuttle Discovery approached the Russian space station Mir and completed a fly-around, thus making the first shuttle rendezvous with Mir as a part of the Shuttle Mir program. The mission, STS-63, was the first of the year, and on board was Russian cosmonaut Vladimir Titov. He was the second cosmonaut to fly the space shuttle as part of the U.S.-Russian agreement on spaceflight cooperation. After the closest point of approach, Discovery Commander James Weatherby said, "As we are bringing our spaceships closer together, we're bringing our nations closer together. The next time we approach, we will shake your hand, and together we will lead our world into the next millennium." 1984, February 7th, astronaut Bruce McCandless performed the first untethered spacewalk. This happened during Space Shuttle mission STS-41B, and Bruce used the Manned Maneuvering Unit, MMU, a sort of jet propulsion backpack. Bruce was not only the first person to use MMU, but was intimately involved in the design and development with Ed Whitsitt from NASA and Bob Vollendonk from Martin Marietta Corporation. McCandless, Whitsitt, and Vollendonk were awarded the Collier Trophy in 1984 for the development of the MMU. Bruce passed away in late December 2017 and was buried at his alma mater, the U.S. Naval Academy, on January 16, 2018. His son, Bruce McCandless III, wrote a book about his father and his untethered flight called Wonders All Around. He will be doing a talk and signing at the Tulsa Air and Space Museum on Friday and Saturday, February 23rd and 24th. In 1999, NASA's Stardust mission was launched. The primary goal of the mission was to collect samples from the comet Wild 2 and return them to the Earth. The team had expected the samples to contain materials from the formation of the...
Repeater, timeout for 15 seconds.
Good evening. The time is 10 p.m.
Timeout, timer, reset. Repeater, enabled.
Understand the computer timed out. Is it working now?
Yes, we have you now, Brenda. Go right ahead and finish up where you feel like you need to pick up. By the
Thank you. Let's see, where was I? Skylab 4. The mission included the observation of the comet Kohoutek among numerous experiments. The crew completed 1,214 orbits and 4 extravehicular activities totaling 22 hours, 13 minutes. CSM-118 was transferred from NASA to the Smithsonian in 1975. And I think we're running out of time. We just have a couple of these left, but I think I'll just table them. So back to that, this is WB5OZL.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. I appreciate that. That is a lot of space history this week, so I think that was plenty enough. All right, now it's time for Chaz again, KF5JJ with Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Take it away, Chaz.
Thanks, Virginia. Once again, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. Slide Master, slide number 14. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributes to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Auriga, or Auriga, the charioteer, or sometimes known as the Shepard. Auriga, the charioteer, is a constellation known since ancient times. There are a number of stories and legends that Auriga is associated with. In one, Auriga has introduced the 4-horse chariot into Athens. Auriga has also been said to represent the ill-fated charioteer of the king, who ultimately died as a result of his involvement in a plot to betray the king. Wow. Slide Master, slide number 15. One of the most important segments of Skynet, the jokes of the week. Here we go. I try to be impartial in chariot races, but I have to admit, so what am I going to fill in with? I'm with her. Get it? Ben her? I'm with her? Oh, well. What did the chariot say after parting of the Red Sea. I'm all washed up. You can read that in the Bible if you want to. What did the left chariot wheel say to the right chariot wheel? I'll see you around. What do you call a chariot? A pony when it coughs. Well, you'd call it a little horse. Slide master, slide number 16. Capella, also known as Alpha Auriga, which means the she-goat or the little she-goat, is the brightest star in Auriga. Auriga is usually depicted with the mother goat and her 3 kids on his shoulder and arm, with Capella representing the goat, and the nearby triangle Epsilon, Eta, and Zeta being representing the kids. Capella is also actually a mobile star system with 2 main components, component A and B, being the yellow G-type stars that are giants. One estimate is with their distances of about, the diameters about 7 and 13 times that of our sun. They orbit each other at a distance of about 60 million miles, and they're too close to each other to split even in the largest telescope. There are 2 more components of the Capellian system, 2 faint red dwarf stars that orbit each other. This pair of red dwarf stars orbits the main pair at a distance of 11,000 astronomical units, or 0.17 light years. The entire Capellian system is about 42.8 light years from the Earth. Now, Theta Auriga is a white A-type star, which is about 166 light years away. It's known for its strong magnetic field and its overabundance of silicon, chromium, and iron. It's also a double star that is noted for being difficult to split, requiring good optics and a good night of steady seeing in the atmosphere. Companion is magnitude 7.2, G-type star that is near twin of our sun, separated from the primary by only about 4 arc seconds. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 17. There's several open star clusters in Auriga. We'll talk about the 3 good ones that you can actually see easily. M36 is known for its, M36 is one of the known open clusters that's kind of famous. M36 is easy to find in open star clusters and as one of the Messier objects. M36 is the first of the 3 that we'll examine. In Deep Sky Wonders, Walter Scott Houston wrote that the cluster has about 60 stars, but it looks sparse in comparison to M37 that we'll talk about in a moment. Stephen James Amira, in his book The Messier Objects, writes that the brighter members of the star cluster shine at 9th through 11th magnitude in front of a hazy background caused by the feeble light of dozens of 13th and 14th magnitude stars. A number of observers note a cross shape formed in the central stars of the cluster. John Malice, in his book The Messier Album, notes that the outward streamers of faint stars give it a crab-like appearance. Slide master, slide number 18. See, object number 37 is one of 3 Messier's open objects, open star clusters on Auriga. M36, M37, and M38 are most agree that M37 is the most striking. Walter Scott Houston said that it was the prettiest of the 3. Burnham, in Burnham's Celestial Handbook, note that it is usually considered the finest of the 3 Messier open clusters on Auriga. O'Meara wrote that the telescopically M37 is much more wonderful sight than M36 or M38. John Malice described it as one of the finest open clusters in the heavens. M37 is a richer cluster than M36, having about 150 bright stars, more than twice that of M36, including all of the fainter stars, with a total stellar population of M37 is more like 500 stars. Also, unlike M36, which contains mostly blue-white stars, M37 has white stars and even some red giants. A number of different authors have noted a 9th magnitude red star that, as Burnham wrote, stands out near the cluster center like a ruby in a field of diamonds. Slide master, slide number 19. The last of the three open clusters I'll talk about is M38. In terms of stellar density, M38 falls between M36 and M37 as far as its density. It's about 100 to 120 stars, greater than M36 60 stars, but well short of M37's estimated 500 stars. Like M36, a number of observers over the years have noticed a cross shape form in the central stars of the cluster. T.W. Webb, Houston, O'Meara, and Burnham noted. So Burnham was quoting Webb, and John Malus did not notice it when he was using his now classic 4-inch unitron refractor while observing for the book of the Messier album. So all three star clusters look very similar in binoculars, or finer scopes. M36, M37, and the 38 are quite different in appearance in a telescope. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 20. Now, there are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Auriga, the charioteer, or sometimes called the Shepard. In fact, I observed 3 of them just before I came on the Skynet. 3 more NGC objects, 1907, 664, and 1857. Those are all NGC numbers. And those are open star clusters, too. I just observed them. I'm going to go back out and see if I can find a few more in Auriga. Now, I've given you just a sampling of some of the objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 74 different observing programs. Now, most of them have about 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. Slide master, slide number 21. And that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Auriga, the charioteer of the Shepard. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week, we'll take a look at something you've heard before, the doggone good constellation, Canis Major. Yeah, the big dog. And this is KF5JJ Chaz saying good night in 73. Back to our net control. Virginia, it's all yours.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chaz. Appreciate that. And I have found that on the website we got one more check-in in 50F Clay in Mesquite. And with that, I will take any additional check-ins as we get towards the end of Skynet. If you'd like to get on the list, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. Okay, no additional check-ins this time, and next we're going to have space launches for this week. And Tom, if you want to go ahead and do the space launches and the satellite passages all at one, that would be great.
Okay, thank you, Virginia. This is KE5ICX. So we have coming up, to be determined, one of our favorites, Starlink 10-12. This will be from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral in Florida. Starlink V2 mini satellites will be launched in a low Earth orbit 8 minutes after liftoff. The first stage booster will land on a SpaceX drone ship stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. Then we have a Falcon 9 on February 26th. Launch time to be determined, IM-2, launching from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy. This would be for Intuitive Machines, the second robotic mission to the moon. On board will be a Nova C-class lander named Athena, or Addie for short. It'll fly several commercial payloads along with 3 NASA science payloads as part of the agency's Commercial Lunar Payload Services, or CLPS program. NASA also has Lunar Trailblazer spacecraft launching as a rideshare payload, which will be deployed separately. The Lunar Trailblazer was selected as part of NASA's Small Innovative Missions for Planetary Exploration, or SIMPLE-X, program in 2019. Following the stage separation, the Falcon 9 first stage booster will target a touchdown in the landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. Overnight, February 27th, 28th, will be a launch of a Soyuz 2.1A with a Progress MS-30/91P. This is at 4:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. An uncrewed Progress cargo ship will launch atop the Russian Soyuz rocket to deliver supplies to the International Space Station. It's expected to dock with the station at 6:03 p.m. on March 1st. Then we have February 27th, 28th, Spheres X and Punch will launch from Vandenberg at SLC-4E. These are 2 co-manifested missions on behalf of NASA. The primary payload, spectral photometer for the history of the universe, epochs of reionization of icy explorers, Sphere X for short, observatory, which is designed to map the entire sky in infrared light. The total mission cost for Spheres, including launch, was about $488 million. Sharing the Falcon 9 rocket is the polar meter to unify the corona heliosphere, or Punch, which consists of 4 suitcase-sized satellites designed to map a region around the sun where the corona transitions to solar wind. Both missions will launch to the polar orbit and will be deployed about 11 minutes apart. A little less than 8 minutes after launch, the Falcon 9 first stage booster, everyone together, will target a touchdown at landing zone 4 back at Vandenberg. There'll also be Transporter 13 launch to be determined in March. This will be from Vandenberg as well. This will launch from a Falcon 9 with dozens of satellites on the 13th small-sat rideshare mission to the sun-synchronous orbit. Among the space satellites are a trio of CubeSats, or NASA's Electrojet Zeeman Imaging Explorer, or EZ mission, Avaker 1, and the first micro-satellite from Kongsberg Nano Avionics N3X Constellation, and the BotSat-1 satellite from Botswana. Less than 8 minutes after launch, everyone together, the first stage booster will return for a touchdown at the landing pad near the launch site. Let's see here. I'm going to pick something. Some of these are so repetitious. Here's a good one. April 8th will be a Soyuz 2.1A launch of MS-27 or 73S. This is also from Baikonur Cosmodrome Site 31. This rocket will launch a 3-man crew to the International Space Station. Crew Commander Sergei Rizhov will be joined by fellow cosmonauts Alexei Zubrinsky and NASA astronaut Johnny Kim, who, by the way, celebrated his birthday this week. We just talked about him, and it will be his first mission, if you remember listening to the discussion. The Soyuz is set to launch in the ISS at about 5:04 a.m. Eastern Daylight. It says Eastern Daylight. I think they mean Eastern Standard Time. The spacecraft will remain docked with the orbiting outpost until December 8, 2025. This will be the 3rd space flight for Rizhov and the first for both Zubrinsky and Kim. Okay, next up we will talk about satellite passages over the next few days. This comes from heavensabove.com. You can go there and plug in your longitude and latitude or your city location, and it will give you passes customized to your location. We have the International Space Station has a number of good sites. We really didn't have anything last week. Got a bunch this week. The best ones are, we have February 11th. That one's a minus 2.5 magnitude at 6:33 in the morning. reaches highest point at 43 degrees at 6:36, and will fall to the east-northeast at 6:39. February 12th, minus 1.3 magnitude, 5:45 in the morning out of the south, reaches highest point at 22 degrees at 5:47. It'll fall to the east-northeast at 5:50. February 13th, there's two passes. The better one is the second one, minus 3.5 magnitude at 6:32 a.m. out of the west-southwest. Reaches highest point at 6:36, 49 degrees, and will fall to the northeast at 6:39. Next, February 14th, minus 3.8 magnitude. This is a goodie, although it's coming out of shadow. 5:46, it'll start at 48 degrees out of the southwest. Reaches highest point at 82 degrees at 5:47. It'll fall to the northeast at 5:50. Then, February 15th, got a minus 2.0 magnitude, 6:33 a.m. Reaches highest point at 18 degrees at 16:35. Fall to the north-northeast at 6:38. Then finally, February 16th, minus 2.5 magnitude. This one's at 28 degrees at 5:47 a.m. It reaches highest point. Well, actually, it is at its highest point as it comes out of shadow. It'll fall to the north-northeast at 5:50. Tiangong, the Chinese space station, has one good pass. It's on February 9th, minus 0.4 magnitude. It actually had a good one this evening earlier, so I can't give you that one. So the next best one is this minus 0.4. Finding here, 6:20 a.m. Reaches highest point at 6:21 at 20 degrees, and will fall to the south-southeast at 6:24. And Virginia, that's it from me. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Okay, thank you so much, Tom. And that's about all the time we have. Are there any final check-ins for Skynet this evening? Okay, does anyone need any fills on any information from the net this evening? Okay, well tonight we had 23 hams participating on the air. Thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5sc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5sc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is NB5S. My name is Virginia, and I will be closing this net at 10:28 local time and returning this repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody. Enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And we will be starting the Afterglow movie net here probably in about 5 minutes or so. So if you'd like to hang around and talk about a weird kind of, I don't really think it's very science fiction-y, but limitless, this movie that we watched this week, please stick around for Afterglow. This is Virginia in C5F returning the repeater to normal amateur use.
And thank you, Virginia. You're right. 5 minutes from now, we'll be back. That's plenty of time to microwave some popcorn and be ready to talk about Limitless. So that'll be in about 5 minutes. Come back then. KE5ICX.
completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow movie net.
Okay, 5 minutes are up. It's time to talk about tonight's movie, which every once in a while we get a fairly decent one. This is a fairly decent one. It's called Limitless. It came out in 2011, directed by Neil Berger and written by Leslie Dixon. It's loosely based on a 2001 novel called The Dark Fields by Alan Glenn, and features Bradley Cooper, Abbie Cornish, Robert De Niro, Andrew Howard, and Anna Friel. The film follows Edward Mara, a struggling writer who is introduced to a drug called NCT-48, which gives him the ability to use his brain fully, which helps him vastly improve his lifestyle, amongst other things. Limitless was released on March 18, 2011. Critical reviews were mixed positive. The film became a box office success, grossing over $161 million on a budget of $27 million. A television series of the same name, covering the events that take place after the film, debuted on September 22, 2015, but it was canceled after one season. Let me tell you a little bit about production. It says Limitless, based on the novel The Dark Fields, which I mentioned. The film is directed by Neil Berger. It's based on the screenplay by Leslie Dixon, who had acquired the rights to the source material. Dixon wrote the adapted screenplay for less than a regular price in exchange for being made one of the film's producers. Fellow producer Scott Kroof, and she approached Berger to direct the film, and the title titled The Dark Fields. For Berger, who had written and directed his previous 3 films, the collaboration was his first foray solely as a director. With Universal Pictures developing the project, Sheila LaBeouf was announced in April 2008 to be cast as the film star. The project eventually moved to development on a relatively media, and Sir Richard Branson's Virgin produced with Universal distributing through Rogue Pictures. By November 2009, Bradley Cooper replaced Baronoff in the series starring role. Robert De Niro was cast opposite Cooper in March of 2010, and they began filming in May of that year. Filming also took place in New York City as well as Philadelphia. For the scene filmed in Puerto Vallarta, filmmakers sought a luxury car. Italian car maker Maserati provided 2 Maserati Gran Turismos. Coup's free and a guerrilla-style approach to product placement. Yeah, those cars were very prominently seen in the film as it was racing through Puerto Vallarta. The film notably incorporates fractal zooming, or jump cutting, and out-of-body scenes to convey the effect of a wonder drug on the protagonist. Green screens and motion control photography were used to produce the visual effect of characters performing an action and then turning around to see themselves doing that action again. The opening scene was created with still photographs stitched together using a variety of special effects techniques. And if you did see the film, that was quite a stunning opening. I'd never seen anything like it before in all the movies I've seen, and I thought it was quite amazing. Okay, this is the game we're going to play. For those of you who haven't done this before, everybody here is pretty much a regular, but if you're not a regular, here's what we do. What we do is we take check-ins and we ask if you've seen the movie or not. It is not a requirement that you have seen the movie, although it sure would be nice if you did. If you haven't, we'll come back and ask you after our comments, is this something you would want to see, and does it remind you of any film that you've seen or you would recommend? So we want you to be part of the discussion. Discussion about the film itself include talking about the plot for the first round. The second round we'll talk about characterization and the acting. The third round will be special effects and anything we may have missed on the first 2 rounds, time permitting. And that should be around 90 minutes long, sometimes runs a little shorter. We try and finish it at midnight because we're all tired by then. So let's go ahead and get started. I will take check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see tonight's movie, Limitless, from 2017.
Someone has to go first. November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony and Nellis. Yes, I saw the entire movie.
NT5OZL. Yes, I saw the movie too.
This is Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato, W5BLT Bill. And I did see the fine movie.
Kilo Bob 9, Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see this film.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth. Yes, I saw this movie.
Okay, let me go ahead and get folks checked in. I got NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. Yep, he saw the film. WB50ZL, Brenda. Yes, she saw the film. W5BLT, Mr. Bill. Yes, he saw the film. KB9SOK, Sean over in Fort Worth. Yes, he saw the film. And NV5F, Virginia in Fort Worth. Yes, she also saw the film. Anyone else want to join us? Please come to your call, sign, and name. And did you see the film?
Call 5, Papa Mike, lurking.
We'll start with Tony. He's first on the runway. NT5TM. Tony, what did you think about the plot for our fine film? What is the name of this thing? I already forgot. Limitless from 2017.
Hey, Tom, I want to challenge you slightly. I personally think, from looking at Wikipedia, that Limitless 2017 is a documentary, and what we've been watching was Limitless from 2011. Now, unless the thriller got re-released or hit YouTube in 2017 or something, I think our movie is Limitless from 2011. I think. Yeah, I'm not a journalist. I don't keep careful records of these things. The answer was I found the plot really gripping and more than a little bit scary. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I might watch it a second time. I don't think I would watch it a third time. This is not really a permanent movie, I don't think, but I sure was engaged. They sure managed to supply suspense. They sure managed to supply suspense from one end to the other to, is he going to pay the rent? To, is he going to take over the world? And that's like 20 dB of range. It's an just dynamic range of plot tension, and they managed to keep it going. And I thought that was really impressive. Just that whole, and there was certainly some violence in this movie and some sex, and I thought they handled that remarkably well for a Hollywood movie. There was no just gratuitous ogling at random bystanders. No. It all fit the plot, and even the violence. Often you feel that people buy their ammunition at Walmart or something. It's like, where does this stuff even come from? I talked about that last week with Escape from L.A. It's like, who supplies this stuff? Why are they shooting like there's no tomorrow? This stuff costs money. But no, I don't think anyone ever emptied their magazine. So everything seemed to fit. Attempts to kill or take things, but always appropriate. The violence always fit the level. You're dealing with a loan shark at the beginning of the movie, so you're dealing with getting shaken down by a loan shark, and then by the end of it, you're facing these very dangerous, powerful people. So wonderful range of scale. So in addition to the dynamic range, I guess they had an antenna matching unit for the threat level. A wonderful thing they did was they at least managed to fill in the most obvious plot hole in the movie, which is if you're a super genius who's dependent on super genius pills, why don't you, like, go to the library and develop a few biochemistry textbooks? I even had some I could loan the main character. They're old, out of date, but they're better than nothing. Get you started here. Besides, if you can master Mandarin in a couple of weeks, I'm sure you could spend the first day devouring my textbooks. And he did that. He did actually seem to have mastered making his own smart pills and thus become one of those firestorms that generates its own weather, that sucks in fresh oxygen as it seeks to take over the world and devour it in a flame. So, again, I don't think it was deep enough to watch 3 times. I don't think I'd watch it 10 years from now, but I really did enjoy it. I really did think that they scaled the danger level in the plot well, and I was glad they filled in the plot hole that he learned to make his own smart pills. NT5TM.
Very good. Thank you, Tony. And you know what? I read 2011 on here more than once, and I still have somehow or another in my head 2017. I don't know why. But you're right. It's 2011, and it is the movie called Limitless, the science fiction film. Okay, next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, what did you think about the plot for our film Limitless from 2011? Go ahead.
This is WB50ZL. I enjoyed it a lot, especially at the beginning. In the end, when he was slurping the blood off the floor, I almost turned it off. That was too icky. But it was almost too disturbing and distressing there at the end. But overall, the plot was very well developed and interesting and entertaining. And certainly, we've all considered, what if we had super brains? What if you could take a pill or do something? It's just a very intriguing idea. And I think most of us would try it. Might want to find out what the side effects are first. I don't think I would take it had I known. Just taking a random pill that you happen to find in your pocket is kind of reckless, I think. But most of us would probably toy with the idea of expanding our brains and becoming superhumans, and being wealthy and famous and having just the world open up to us. It's a fascinating concept. Okay, I'm going to go back to net. WB50ZL.
Very good. Thank you, Brenda. Next is Bill, W5BLT. Bill, what say you on our movie this evening, our plot from KE5I6?
Well, you know, I always enjoy the visuals when I come here to the Afterglow Movie Hour, and both Tony and Brenda have not disappointed. I was kind of lost there at the end because it just sort of left me hanging with the loan sharks, and so I wasn't sure what was happening there at the end because there was no dialogue. So Tony filled that in, and then I suspected something might be happening there with the guy that and the stuff in his blood. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I think I'm glad I can't see that, and I could have done without hearing that. But oh well. No, it was an interesting movie, and I think I saw something on an infomercial where you could take a drug and it would make you smarter, and kind of. I think there was an infomercial back in the 80s or early 90s or something, stuff like that. But no, this was actually kind of a different type of movie. It did keep me wondering what was going to happen to him, and I did actually care about the characters, both him and I think her name was Melissa. And so it really, I think, did a good job. You know, it opens with him narrating, but it fit. And, you know, I know sometimes we say when you have to narrate, but this, it just all fit together. And so I was pretty impressed with this movie after some of the ones that we've had. So it was engaging. I agree with Tony. I think I might watch it again. I'm not sure if it's a third time around, but it was kind of a fascinating plot, and so I enjoyed it. I'm not sure why Fight Club kept coming to mind when I watched this thing, but because nothing like that, but it was just kind of, I kept thinking that as I was watching this, but it was very engaging, and they, I think, did a good job with the plot. Back to you, Tom, W5DLT.
Thank you, Bill. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, what did you think about the plot?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. I may be exiled after this review because I had a different feel about this movie. There's been a few movies like this. This isn't the first one where they've had some kind of super drug that made you super smart. There's at least three that I can think of. In fact, about a year ago, we watched one of them here, Lucy. We all watched it. A little bit different feel to it, but same type of concept. So this isn't exactly new. They did film it a little, you know, which is kind of third round, so I don't want to get into it too much. The filming, I think, was better, but the plot was really actually quite simple. At the end of the day, it was just about him taking the drug and then, you know, essentially just being smarter than everybody else. And in the end, he figures out how to make it a permanent effect without the drug. So, you know, you know, to me, there just wasn't a lot of growth. This is kind of getting into characterization, so I apologize. But to me, it's a big part of the movie was really, you know, I think it would have been better had he gotten off the drug, but realized that if he applied himself, he could still do good things, and then maybe in the end, doing it truly on his own. So, you know, the lesson of this movie was pretty much, yeah, take drugs, be super smart, and there's no repercussions. So, you know, for a movie that kind of had a lot of action, I found myself kind of bored throughout the movie, actually, unlike everybody else. At one point, I almost shut it off, just because I thought it just kind of bland. You know, I mean, I wasn't at all concerned. You knew he was going to get out of every situation, and it was just kind of extreme. You know, like when he got in the fight in the subway, you know, he was remembering, you know, kung fu movies, you know, Bruce Lee movies. Well, once again, those are choreographed movies. You can't really learn how to truly fight by watching a choreographed movie. And then, yet now he was an expert. You know, so it had that little bit of like Matrix feel where it's like it was just being downloaded into his brain. You know, so I felt there was some plot holes there personally. I do agree with Tony. I did, you know, I wondered, you know, as the movie went on, I kept thinking, why is this guy trying to hire somebody else to reproduce the drug? Why didn't he just figure it out himself if he's so smart? And he did in the end. So I will give the movie that. That was a good, solid, you know, ending to the movie as far as that goes. But just overall, I don't know, for some reason this movie just didn't capture interest. You know, there was some interesting filming. We get to talk about in round three, and some of that stuff that kept me from turning it off. But as far as the storyline, I actually wasn't that impressed. I thought it was pretty simple, and you knew he was going to get out of every single situation. And you knew in the end, even at the end there, when it looked like, you know, he was going to be blackmailed by the powerful executive, you knew he was going to have some clever way to get out of it, and he did, of course. So, so for me, it wasn't horrible, but it just, you know, to me, it was just okay. So, yeah, back to that. KB9S, okay.
All right, well, Well, Sean, you're entitled to an opinion, and generally speaking, we've been pretty much universal on our opinions of films, although we've had some of the very worst of the worst. We've had differences of opinion as to just how bad it really is, that it could be so bad that it's good. In this case, it might be something a little different in that we're just basing it on the merits of the film itself, so no problem. Always interesting to hear what differing of opinions and why, both positive and negative. In fact, we've had some folks who have actually, we took what was started out as a relatively negative review of the film, and then everybody kind of changed their mind and said when somebody brought up an interesting plot point and thought, that's quite a clever idea, then we changed our minds because we started seeing the movie in a completely different light. All right, next up is Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, what did you think of the plot from KE5ICX?
Okay, thank you, Tom. Well, it's kind of fun to go later in the order because you get to sort of synthesize a little bit from what other people think, but I do want to be honest, true to what I really think. I found it to be repetitive in that it was kind of a one, you had like a one trick thing. It was this guy super smart when he takes this pill, and then when he comes down off of his dosage and doesn't take it again, he gets sick, and suddenly he, can't do all the stuff he did before. And this is not a really new concept. The power that comes and goes, and then the problem caused in the plot by the fact that it's a fleeting sort of power that people have, and how do they deal with their real self once they've had this taste of greatness. And I do think they got a lot of mileage out of that one simple idea, because then it was like, well, what if, the guy who sold him the drug, what if he gets killed, and then it's like, well, what if, the cops come and think he's afraid he's going to be incriminated, and, what if he is a suspect in a crime that he might have committed when he was super overdosed on it, and what would happen if the guy, the loan shark finds out about it, and he starts taking it, and what if his girlfriend has to take it to get away from, one of the guys, stalking him. So they did some interesting things with that one concept over and over again. They found ways to keep it from getting really repetitive, even though it was doing this, it's kind of the same thing, but it was a little different take on it each time. I'm kind of with Sean on the fact that there wasn't like a redemption arc here, but that's the way some movies are. The whole idea of a plot is that it's a character who has a desire, and they come against a confrontation in the pursuit of their desire, and the resolution is whether or not they get what they want. And we like this guy. He's, there's something about him that's charming, and we kind of want to root for him. But at the same time, it's sort of a conflict of, well, shouldn't he, discover his own real gifts and talents, maybe through these brilliant moments of inspiration, and learn to be a better person? But sometimes the character gets exactly what they want, even if it's not the best thing for them. And that's kind of how this story went, and that's not necessarily my favorite outcome. But I was kept interested all the way through it. It didn't really drag anywhere. In fact, there were times when it was so intense that, you kind of needed it to slow down, but it gave a good sense of sort of what he was feeling, maybe just in the intensity, and like Tom mentioned, all the this is kind of a round 3 one, but all the techniques, the visual techniques of doing the fractal zooming, which I thought was fascinating and did give a real sense of like rushing, into whatever's in front of you, almost feeling out of control. The only reason I might watch this again is to just get clarity on some things that happened when I glanced away or was looking at my phone or something, because it does move really fast and it did have a lot of detail. And I did kind of like the twist ending where the guy, says he's gone into pharmaceuticals and that he's, basically thinks he's going to have this, this Edward, who's now a politician, have him over a barrel, and then, he basically has the script flipped on him at the end, and I did find that rather satisfying. I would be maybe a little curious to see what show.
Good evening. Node 481102. Timeout.
Gratuitous, just to kind of go, well, this guy he's not only a super brain, he's just like superhumanly great, not at just thinking, but at just doing everything and relating to people and, getting some, for lack of a better way of putting it. He goes kind of from zero to hero, in 3.2 seconds, and handles everything perfectly when he's on this medicine. There are other super brainiac movies that didn't have to do with drugs, like Phenomenon with John Travolta, which I found kind of depressing because his was based on the fact that he had some kind of a brain tumor or something, and that was kind of sad. But yeah, all the imminent danger in this and all the possible pitfalls were explored interestingly in most cases. And one scene where he was out of luck because he had lost his last super pill, and he had deduced that the loan shark guy who he had just killed was bleeding, and that was the only source of medicine he could get because he had taken it, and it was in his bloodstream. I mean, that was gross. I was like almost gagging during that scene where he's like drinking the guy's blood. That was pretty disgusting. But yeah, I lived through it and found it interesting enough to watch the end, and I don't have a whole lot terrible to say about it, but it's not necessarily my favorite type of plot or my cup of tea, but it was generally, considering the straightforwardness and basicness of the concept here, of the premise, not too bad in V5F.
Okay, very good, Virginia. And okay, we got sort of an okay, so it's kind of falling in line with the critics. So let me go ahead and ask before I make my comments. Anyone else out there like to check in? We are talking about the movie Limitless from 2011. So if you would like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign, your name. Did you see the film? Okay, no problem there. We may get about half the crew that we normally do, so we'll probably get through this twice as fast, huh? Yeah, I would agree with what everyone has said, and it's easy to do because I'm the last guy. That's why it's always great to be the net control, because you can keep your comments towards the end, and you can use the wisdom of others and add to their comments and bring up, be able to kind of compare and contrast and sound like the big brainiac, just like Mr. Limitless himself, by using everyone else's comments to leverage your own. Okay, well, any rate, here's the thing. Yes, this has been done many, many times before, and that's okay. I don't mind that. I don't mind police procedurals. I don't mind car chases. I don't mind movies that, with evil aliens and things like that. These films have been done before and many times. So Limitless, I think Flowers for Algernon came up in conversation during the movie, or the movie Charlie with Cliff Robertson, which is the same story. I think it was just renamed Charlie. And I think there was another one with Ernest Borgnine. I don't recall. I was trying to remember that the other night, and I didn't look it up before the net this evening. At any rate, does that diminish it? Maybe to a certain extent, because it's been done. But the thing about this film was, and what I really enjoyed is, and this is always something I love in any film, and this is sort of a part 3, is that when you use cinematography in a unique way, or in a way that is not part of the norm, in other words, it may be using a technique, but not as a trick, but as a way of storytelling, I'm all in, because there are so many films that are like that. I'm a particularly big fan of film noir, simply because of the way it's filmed, and it was actually kind of a money-saving thing. But it's fascinating because each scene can be set up in a very interesting way. This film was the same way. So we may have had a traditional plot in the sense that this has been done before, but it's visually brought to us in a nice way. We've got great pacing through this whole thing. The acting is quite good. There are a few items in there that were like twists of the plot, but it was fairly predictable in what was going to happen. He's going to draw too much attention to himself, and he's going to draw trouble to himself. But the way these things were presented, and the fact that these people are pretty terrifying, and we don't know what all the story is, and we keep waiting for him to pull out the next miracle. What am I going to do to solve this problem? And it's like watching Star Trek. We expect Captain Kirk to come up with the big answer to the problem, and that's what this guy was doing, and that's what I think worked really quite well for me. I love the pacing. I love the visuals to the film. I love the way that the characters were presented, and we'll cover those as well. But I think the film was very clean, cut well, and of right length. There was very little drag in it. A little bit at the beginning, but that's just story set up, and then it took off and it never stopped, and I thought that was great. So it was action-adventure, science fiction slant, and really produced a visually, I think, stunning film. Really, I think it was really great. I think, let's see, who was it who said it was like Fight Club? Might have been Bill or Sean, I don't recall. I think it was Bill. I think the reason it kind of felt like that is that we had scenes like that, in the sense that we learn later on that the character, not a spoiler, but that the character is describing this third person, and it really turns out it's him. And so when you look at all the scenes, you reevaluate everything in the film from a new perspective, literally a new perspective, and then the characterization and motivations completely change. And I think that's part of what happens here, motivations and how it's implemented. His personality changes such that we view him differently, from kind of the loser from zero to hero, as Virginia mentioned, is very true. And I think that the way it was delivered was quite nicely done. So there you have it. Now, final point here before we move to the next section is, did our character grow? Yes, not exactly in the way that we expected. He has growth in his confidence and the fact that after weaning himself off the drug, he now retains all of this nature, and he's unleashed. He's a senator now, and most likely destined to be the president of the United States, the most powerful person in the world, and being able to make decisions so quickly and be able to surmise circumstances that alone could be an interesting story in and of itself. How would he handle that? What if you have perfect knowledge? Can you act in a perfect way? Well, we know in this story he didn't, because he drew so much attention to himself, he ended up having to almost kill himself to get out of the situation. So there was some folly in that. But what would happen with this additional power, we'll never know, unless you watch the police procedural version of this, which I hear wasn't very good. Okay, well, let's go ahead and go back to the top. We'll talk about the characterization and acting, beginning with Tony in T5TM. What do you think?
Well, thank you, Tom. I really did enjoy the acting. I thought everyone was, effective and transparent. Even Robert De Niro. I mean, he played Robert De Niro a little bit, but he also was effective as his character, so we didn't have the usual situation of, say, Tom Hanks playing Tom Hanks as. So, it could have been worse, and it mostly was better. I really did enjoy Sean and Virginia's comments, because the main character, so often you get a main character who has a revelation, or who learns that, the true strength comes from within us, where the magic is really love, and all the ponies learn to get along together. And this was not that movie. I think that was even driven home at the end of the movie, because he first startled, his girlfriend, the protagonist's girlfriend had been very frustrated with him. He's borrowing money, he can't finish his novel, blah, 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 and then suddenly he can speak Italian. And then here at the end of the movie, suddenly he can speak, I actually don't know if it was Mandarin or Cantonese, but he can speak some form of Chinese. It could have been another dialect, I don't even know. And he's continuing this vein of, I have a lot of superhuman abilities and I don't try very hard to hide them. I'm awesome. This movie made me think of two other famous characters. I guess there's never been a movie version of this that I know of, at least. Stranger in a Strange Land, the science fiction novel, where the man from Mars has these miraculous abilities, but has to learn how to both teach them to others, which our character did not do, and to kind of pass them on, and found a sort of an enduring institution, which our lead character did not do. And also then I compared to Superman, where, at least in the original Christopher Reeve movie, he does learn what Superman he is, and accepts that he can change things and do things, but he's got a struggle that he has to face, which is just really the beginning of the end of the movie, of what do I do? How much Superman should I be? So I think there's a wonderful sequel opportunity here. Who is he going to grow into? What will happen? There's a real limit to what one person can do, no matter how brilliant they are. Even if he avoids the fate of, looking at the other guy and going, oh, you've got a heart valve problem. What will come after him? How will this superheroic human brilliance go on to serve the world? We don't know. He's rich and he's got power, and he, frankly, to me, doesn't seem to have changed much. I really appreciated Sean hitting on that. That got me to think about the movie more during the net here. And we don't know what's going to happen later. So that's intriguing. And I'm intrigued. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the characters. But now I want to know, I guess always leave them wanting more. It did. NT5TM.
comments. Next, Brenda, WB50ZL. You're up. What do you think about characterization and acting for our film Limitless from 2011 from KE5ICX? Well, I see her out there, but I don't see anything else. Brenda, WB50ZL. Oh, I just got a note. Skip me this time. Okay. Let me go to next would be Bill, W5BLT. Bill, same question to you. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I thought the bad guys were bad. And, our main character, I thought this posed an interesting dilemma. You're shy, and just trying to make it as an author, and then all of a sudden you get this superpower. What do you do with it? And I think part of them wanted to make the world a better place, and so that was kind of interesting. The one character, Melissa, maybe I wasn't paying enough attention. I kind of was surprised because I didn't expect she's taking that same pill, and so I was like, oh, okay, now that makes sense. And I think she had gotten published, and so that was kind of interesting. And I just thought that was just the normal thing. And then you find out that she took the drug a year earlier and stopped taking it. She stopped taking it a year earlier. But so that was interesting. I thought they did a really good job with the characters. I'm always fascinated by people's views on, good or bad on a movie. And I think that's what makes this fun. So I vote that we don't excommunicate Sean for his views this evening. W5BLT, back to you, Tom.
All right, thank you, Bill. Sean, KB9SOK, what do you have to say about that? Or, well, how about characterization instead from KE5ICX?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. I guess I already kind of talked about the main character and not having growth. At first, I did kind of like him, and in the beginning, I was rooting for him. But the more he took it, and the more the more cocky he became, the less I really cared. And I think Virginia actually nailed what I was thinking on the head with the whole part of it being just a one-note trick. That essentially it was the exact same thing over and over and over, and that's kind of what I was thinking was just such a simple plot. But I think that describes it way better. And so that's why after the first 30 minutes, you knew what was going to happen next, because every time there was some situation to where the medicine wore off, and then once he found the pills, and that answered everything, and it just kind of got old for me. And then at the end, I don't, I still feel like the character really didn't have a lot of growth. He was smart enough, obviously, to figure out how to get rid of the drug but make it permanent effect. But in the end, he really wasn't any different. And then two, first, once again, I liked the girlfriend at first. She obviously, kicked him to the curb because he was just sponging off of her and, wasn't growing. And then once again, she wanted to try it again because she didn't care about him. But but then when she realized he was on drugs, you know, she basically said she was done with him again. But then magically at the end, she's back with him because now he's a senator, or Lorna Bay. So it showed that she actually in the end didn't really have much growth. So, you know, and yeah, the drug dealer, you know, or not drug dealer, but the loan shark felt like a loan shark. You know, and obviously a businessman. You know, I will say it was well acted. That once again, it was one of the things that was one of the positives of this movie, for me anyway, was that the acting was good. I do think people played their characters really well. You know, and as you mentioned earlier about the visual comment, that was, you know, it was those two things that actually kept me from not turning this movie off. It was just enough to keep me interested enough to make it to the end. But it just isn't something that I would probably watch again. I actually did see one episode of the TV series, and I actually seen it before. I had never seen this movie, but I didn't realize the TV series was based on a movie. And I only watched one episode if that tells you anything. But don't take my opinion on it, because once again, this just isn't really my kind of show. So somebody else might very much enjoy the TV series. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it was well acted, but once again, to me, it was just pretty straightforward characters, not a lot of growth in any of them. But it was well acted. So back to net, KB9S, okay.
All right, very good. Decision on that one, no problem. Next is Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, what'd you think about characterization and acting?
Well, let's see. First, I have to mention something. I wrote it on the text thread last night about him. There were different mentions of course, if he's going to be a senator, then he's probably already got his eye on being the president. I think he mentions that in his narration earlier in the movie, and kind of mash him up. And my one last night was, this is like, being there meets the Matrix meets Big Pharma. So, but I'm kind of with Sean. The characters were pretty stereotypical. Even the opening scene where his girlfriend is dumping him. I mean, how many movies have we seen with that scene at the opening? You know, guy's he's doesn't have his act together, and his girlfriend dumps him because he's got a problem. And of course, you know that in the movie, that problem's going to be addressed, you know, and he's going to have to confront that problem. And in most movies, you would see the character confront the problem with something like a magical drug, and then, you know, gradually he would have an arc where he discovers that he can be an even better person without the magical drug, and the magical drug is or whatever the magical fix to his, that's such a standard thing, you know, the magical fix is it looks like it's working at first and then everything falls apart, and that's kind of what you think is going to happen to this guy, and then he kind of, you know, figures out, he kind of gets away with it, basically. That makes me not really like him that well by the end. I don't have any warm, good feelings. You know, this is not a feel-good ending for me. I don't really resonate with these characters. You know, it might make a good jumping-off point for a sequel where he is finally confronted with, well, what if he gets elected president, and then, as was mentioned earlier, he discovers that no matter, I think it was Tony who said, you know, no matter how smart or brilliant or accomplished or great at everything you are, you're still just one person. And, you know, that you know, that might make an interesting scenario for continuing the story. But yeah, it's acting is fine. Actors were all great in this. You had, you got a sense of urgency or scary. The bad guys were bad and scary. The good guys were, generally likable. The kind of greasy brother-in-law who starts, or ex-brother-in-law who starts the whole thing, and, the ex-wife, I felt sorry for her. And then it seems like by the middle of the movie, it seems like everybody in the movie's, on this magic brain pill. So it's almost like war of the geniuses, but they're still just, I don't know. I guess you're not just a genius. You're like super good. You're super competent. Interesting about this, this thing is it makes everyone like hyper capable at everything. And that is kind of a Superman scenario, which can be kind of hard to make a good plot with, the characters have to have weakness, and I guess the fact that it wears off is their weakness. But, overall, I didn't find any characters that I found to be particularly lovable, a little bit likable at the beginning, but the fact that he seems determined to not really learn from his missteps with this to the point where he's now having a violent, bloody shootout. He just gets in deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It seems like if he was super brainiac that he would have been too smart for some of the stuff he did. But anyway, it was fine. It's entertaining, and not every movie has to be super meaningful or have fabulous character arcs. It does have a little bit of a change in him in that he just kind of figures out a way to outsmart the smart drug itself and become actually genuinely smart. Whether that's a good thing for him or not remains to be seen in B5F.
All right, very good. Excellent point. Now, Brenda says she's ready. WB50ZL. Brenda, your thoughts on characterization and acting?
Yeah, thanks for coming back to me. I don't know what happened. It just all failed. This is WB50ZL, characterization and acting. I thought they were pretty good. The main character especially was really good in this role, and of course, everybody was. And I thought they were well cast as well. They were believable, which I think was kind of a big job, because these were really larger-than-life parts. So, it's got to be hard to play. All the stuff going on, it's not the kind of a role that you usually get. Alright, I think I'll go for something else fails. This is WB50ZL, back to net.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And this is KE5ICX. Tonight's movie we're talking about is Limitless from 2011. Super genius. Okay, does anybody else want to join us this evening who has not checked in yet? Please come to your call, your name, and did you see tonight's movie, Limitless? Okay, hearing none. Let me check Echo Link. No, usual suspects are there. I can't really add much to what's already been said about the characters. I think our main characters, Bradley, was played by Bradley Cooper. Our Mora character, Eddie, was quite good. I really enjoyed him. I thought, I went back to see if I could find other things that I'd seen him in. I've not seen any of his films. He's done a number of them, but none of them are ones that I was really particularly interested in watching. So this is like a first time with him. I thought he did a really good job. Robert De Niro played Robert De Niro. He is a kind of a one-trick pony, and he does a very good Robert De Niro, let's face it. Other characters, whoever the bad guy was, the loan shark was quite good. The Russian loan shark was fun to watch. The gals were good, no problem there. I thought that was okay. Overall, aptly acted and engaging, so that helped a lot. Characterizations, yeah, well, we know our character doesn't grow any, although, maybe I disagree. I think he grows, maybe not in a positive way, in that now he has these things figured out. He has the confidence to be able to take it to the next degree. So, I don't know. I've been trying to wrestle with the idea that he was so reckless at the beginning and being a super genius. Would a person with the ability to be able to put all these things together be able to emotionally handle these things? I don't know. That could be a good story. That could be another thing that might hold out. How do you handle something like that? We have individuals who are grow up, they're child prodigies or prodigies all their lives, or they're early achievers. These are people that reach the pinnacle of their success very early in their lives. Orson Welles reminds me of that as a guy who, produced memorable radio and television and movies very in his 20s, and then kind of saw a decline after that. What do you do with things like that? I think that this character might have been one of those characters, but we never really get to explore that because we're ripped through this short period of time in his life, which would have been interesting. So does he, at the end, as U.S. Senator, or soon-to-be Senator, soon-to-be President after that, potentially, has he figured all this out? Well, he appears to have, but has he really? I don't know. Certainly would be an interesting thing to explore as a new level, as a different level. So, at any rate, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Okay, next up, third round. We do have time tonight. We'll go ahead and talk about special effects and or anything else you want to bring to the table. So, Tony, you're up. NT5TM. Whatever you'd like to say, go right ahead.
Well, Tom, thank you for staying up with us, and thank you everybody else for participating. It's, no secret, I'm here for the other people, not for the movie. I can watch bad movies on my own. Oh, actually, this wasn't a bad movie, but, I can watch movies on my own. I'm really here to hear what everyone else says. It makes me enjoy the movies a lot more. So, I've actually just gone and gotten Stranger in a Strange Land off the bookshelf. My copy is all taped together. Of course, the man from Mars in Stranger in a Strange Land does not have to cope with possible rivals who are taking smart drugs too. I think there's a lot of possible future in this cinematic universe that is worth thinking about and interesting to ponder. I certainly enjoyed the unusual filmmaking. I've watched Peter Greenaway and Terry Gilliam, David Lynch. Of course, I think we've probably all seen Requiem for a Dream. I'm no stranger to overbearing cinematography. Seeing a set of ceiling tiles turn into flipping numbers when he's pondering stock prices. Okay, I get that. But I was really glad that by and large that stuff got less obtrusive as the movie went on. It was wonderful to be introduced to the surrealistic universe of crazy smart drugs. Oh, but that kind of stuff gets just tiresome. I regularly saw ceilings dissolve into numbers, I would go see a doctor. So I'm glad they laid off on that. The movie was still, I thought, very well shot. I thought the score supported it well without being obtrusive or annoying. So yeah, again, I don't think it's a movie for the ages, but I'm sure, I sure enjoyed it. I'm sure happy I saw it once. Might see it again to fill into some gaps, as Virginia said. It was interesting. NT5TM.
Okie dokie. Well, good. Overall, we generally positive feelings about the film. Some more positive than others, but that's what movies are all about. They evoke emotions and differently in different people. That's perfectly fine. All right, Brenda, you're back in the rotation. WB50ZL. Go ahead. Whatever you'd like to talk about, special effects or anything else.
This is WB50ZL. Special effects, they weren't a major thing for me in this movie, and I don't honestly remember much about the music. I guess keep losing myself. I'm just really surprised that we hadn't seen this scene done over and over. So many movie scenes are just over and over and over, and I don't recall ever seeing much. Well, I know there was Charlie, which was very similar, but gosh, it was 50 years ago. It's such an intriguing idea. I'm surprised we don't see this done up more often. And I thought they put a lot of thought into it, and I like that. So many movies we saw are just really slapped together, but this one, I thought they really put a lot of consideration into it. Okay, back to net, WB50ZL.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Thanks for your comments this evening. Bill, W5BLT, what is your final parting shots about our film from KE5 ICX?
Yeah, I don't know that I have much to add. Obviously, the visual stuff, the reviews and what's been mentioned here, was pretty intense at the beginning. And the fast pace of it, obviously, would give you a feeling of what he was going through. And I think, the music was kind of different, but I didn't think it did fit. I think it fit with the movie. So I don't know that I have a whole lot. It is always fun to get everybody input on this round especially. So because that is so much of what I did. And so again, grateful for you guys. Another fun night on Afterthought, so appreciate it. W5DLT.
Good. Glad to hear it, Bill. Thanks for your contributions as well. Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, you can say anything you want about the film. Maybe something you hadn't covered before, or special effects, music, whatever you'd like. Go right ahead.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Now, one comment I kind of forgot about earlier, and it kind of goes all the way back to plot. I was a little bothered by the fact that when he wasn't sure if he killed the one lady or not when he blacked out. And, at first he acted like he was upset, but then he was just worried about getting caught. He never went back to, he thought with his intelligence, he would have went back and investigated and found out who actually done it. I would think that'd be a hard thing to live with, or I don't know how you could. You might have killed somebody and then not even know the answer. So, yeah, that part kind of set with me weird. But part of special effects, obviously, there really wasn't much as far as actual effects. But once again, I actually like the filming of this. Yeah, the zooming in, zooming out, I guess an hour or 50 of that could get old. And they did back off of that halfway through the movie, which I thought was perfect. But I actually enjoyed that at the beginning. It helped blend how he was feeling. And I thought that part was actually quite clever. And that was one of the things I did like about this film. So, I did enjoy that. I don't remember much about the music either, but so it must have been okay then, because it didn't offend me at all. And of course, the audio stuff was good. Like everybody else, I really enjoyed the comments from everybody. I enjoyed the enthusiasm of those that liked it and why. It's always interesting, and that's why there's so many movies out there. There's something for everybody. And most of all, like everybody else, that's one thing I like about this group is just discussing and talking about it. And there's been times that because of this, I've watched movies I would have never watched otherwise, and some of them have really surprised me, and I've really liked them. And normally I would have just skipped over them. And then there's been some that I thought, well, I would like this, but then turned out not to. So it's always fun hearing everything and getting the opportunity to see some of these unusual movies. So anyway, enjoyed it as always. Looking forward to the next one. Back to Nat, KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. Thanks for your comments this evening. Virginia, NV5F, what do you have? What's your final comments from KE5ICX?
Okay, Tom, probably a lot of the same things. I did think the open-ended plot about the woman getting murdered was more than a little bit unsatisfying and a little confusing. The filming was very cool. I did like the fractal zooming effect. And that name for it makes perfect sense, because when I was watching it, I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen this in anything. I mean, it may have been used since 2011, but I'll say honestly that I don't really go to see a lot of action-y type movies. And so I probably wouldn't have ever seen anything else that has this kind of effect. It did seem like in the sense of color and color keying and stuff, it had a little bit of the taking its cues from, I did mention The Matrix earlier, and, Tony's favorite thing of everything being kind of green or, kind of bilious and kind of just almost like a nauseated, feeling from the tone of the movie and the murkiness of the movie, which movies are super murky now. That they weren't quite as murky back in 2011, but I am going to blame The Matrix for the trope now of everything being sort of kind of that pukey greenish color, and then when something's having its effect or you've gotten out of the Matrix or whatever, like things are more of a normal saturation, and whenever they took the drug, everything got all sort of kind of brightly colored and vivid and more stimulating and interesting. And when they were, when they weren't on their, brain pills, everything was kind of just like blah and dreary looking, and I did notice that, and it seemed a little bit like an obvious thing, but I did like some of the choices for just the effects, the visual, the way the cinematography and visual effects were added to it to support whatever state of mind a character was in. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really stood out to me. The music, I don't remember much about it. That probably means that's the time when movie soundtracks started to get into the more of the plain kind of minimalist feeling things where they're not very memorable. You don't have quirky character themes or anything pretty. It just kind of suggests to you what mood you should be getting out of the scene, and that's about it. There's nothing really memorable there. And, you know, overall, generally tight, well-made film. I can't even imagine trying to edit something like this. You know, overall, apart from just some kind of scary and more violent things that I don't care much for, that I could handle, you know, not too bad. Overall, just a pretty. Now, I will contend against this being really science fiction. It's kind of got a fantasy element to it, which can definitely get it into the range of Afterglow, but I will say I don't really count this as science fiction or fantasy in V5F.
Node 4892, timeout.
The pickup, is it really science fiction? Well, it's kind of science fiction-y. It's more of a, what would you call it, action, I guess, at least the second part of it. So I don't know. But again, I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it. Visually, as I mentioned before, I like films like this where it aids to the story and provides a nice you are there moment type of thing to it. I really enjoyed that. I don't think that's done as well in motion pictures as it possibly could be, especially considering with all the digital effects and everything. And so often that stuff is just used quite over, just way too much. But I will say this, I'm going to mention, I just finished off a series called Ripley. It's, what is it? I think it's a 10-part series. If you've seen the book, seen the movie, The Talented Mr. Ripley, this is a TV version of the same thing. It's all done in black and white. I think it's on Netflix. And I really enjoyed it because doing it in black and white and then creating and using all the architectural pieces to it, the film was visually very colorful, whereas this one is very bland and black and white, so you're forced to look at the action, you're forced to look at the architecture, which is quite beautiful and quite fascinating to watch. It has a film noir feel to it, and that I enjoyed that. And I come back and I say the same thing about this film. I probably will come back and watch it again, then maybe not a third time, as some people have said they probably would not. But overall, yeah, I'll go back and watch it for the visuals, and the story was not overtaxing, but I think it was good enough and paced well enough that you could enjoy it. So there you have it. Okay, next week, I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but this film is from 2012. It's called The Hole. And it says, just a single line, a pair of brothers stumble upon a mysterious hole in their basement. Okay, that's it. Science fiction stuff. So we finished off a little bit early, which is fine by me. Maybe I'll go watch a little Lost in Space. Maybe I'll just collapse and go to bed. I don't know. I had a grand, what did I have today? I had a 3.5 hour nap, so I'm surprisingly awake, but I could still go to sleep. All right, I'm going to say 7-3 to everybody. Thank you this evening. Thank you for taking care of Skynet, Virginia, and then thank you for your contributions tonight and everyone who is involved with this. It's always fun. I enjoy it. Don't tell anyone, but this is probably my favorite net, talking about movies. Okay, we'll see y'all next week. This is KE5 ICX. Clear. See y'all.